What else did we learn? We learned that the globalists conducted a pandemic, or an exercise in October of last year, which was funded by Bill Gates. Surprise, surprise. And it wasn't long after that that they deployed their social program called COVID-19. And for anyone that did their own research, it became pretty obvious that this virus was nothing more than a ruse for the unsuspecting public. We learned that almost anything kills this virus, and the testing kits don't even work properly. But hospitals are still advised to report positive cases. On the financial side, it's a misconception that the relief money that we're getting is our government's way of making things right. However, nothing can be further from the truth. We're getting a temporary allowance like children, so the majority of us don't speak up while they secretly destroy the economy, buy infrastructure, and take over agriculture. Another thing that I learned through my own investigation is that none of the several hospitals I visited showed any evidence of a pandemic.
That's right.
What makes me sick to my stomach is remembering all those elderly patients lying in stretchers in hospital hallways. This is, by the way, called hallway healthcare in Canada.
Yeah.
Left to soil themselves without dignity. Apparently we didn't have the money to fix that problem, but we do now. Go figure.
We gotta stay together.
How many times have you heard it's better to be safe than sorry? Well, let's look at the sorry part. Food is becoming more expensive. Supply dwindles. People are losing their jobs. Domestic violence is up. Depression's a real thing. And governments around the world continue declaring millions of people not essential, essentially saying, you know what, we don't need you. Like with any agenda, our minds require conditioning before drastic change can be accepted. In our case, we are being conditioned to view our freedoms as selfish. They understand our weakness better than we do, and they've convinced most people that being a coward is the same thing as virtue. It's also, I find it very hard to believe that most of us are okay with phones being tracked and treated like children, waiting in long lines at Walmart or Costco just to feed our families.
We are not okay with that.
We're even being judged by fellow shoppers for not putting on a mask, even though it's common knowledge that the skin is the largest organ. In other words, nothing less than 24 feet in reality would actually work if there's a real virus around. This alone proves that it's more about compliance than it is about safety.
That's right.
The way I see it, the mask itself is part of our initiation into the new world. It has a horrible psychological effects and dehumanizes us. Our connection with fellow man hides behind a veil. Facial expressions or a simple smile will soon be a thing of the past. We'll soon start to see people as threats and not human beings. What's clear is that every month that goes by, we enter a new phase of division. Now, assuming the controllers decide to give us a small window of normalcy in the next couple of months, does anyone think, realistically, that they won't do this again? However, without sounding all doom and gloom, perhaps there's a good lesson to be learned here. Rather than just using control platforms like Facebook and YouTube to wake people up, I say we find the courage to get out and speak to random strangers, whether it's for a couple minutes or even a spontaneous 5-second line, you could say. What do you got to lose?
That's right.
On a personal note, I've been embarrassing myself for the past several years at grocery stores, coffee shops, street corners, handing out information cards about atmospheric aerosol injection programs in Canada.
You rock!
Some listen, some don't. However, moving forward, I can assure you that this pandemic and the loss of our freedoms will now be my #1 priority. My hope is that one day we will say no to a backwards future. Your kids and my kids are depending on us. I'm reminded of 32 inspiring words by singer-songwriter Morrissey in a song called Spent the Day in Bed, and they are as follows. I recommend that you stop watching the news because the news contrives to frighten you, to make you feel small and alone, to make you feel that your mind isn't your own. Great song on YouTube if you want to check it out. I'm not going to end it by once again saying thank you to everyone for coming out, having the courage to show up. I'm truly grateful to be standing here among you. Thank you.